I mean, ish. It's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I guess, I don't know. Am I ever really going to be, is it ever really going to be able to happen? Am I ever going to be to a point where it's just like, okay, I just want to work, earn my money, and have a life?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to become an adult.
I see Billy.
Leave Billy alone!
Oh, beautiful. You know what he says that I have you ever seen that YouTube video? Leave Brandy alone.
Leave Brandy alone!
That's what I imagine right now.
Oh my God.
Of him saying, "Leave Billy alone." We just need him in some crying and some mascara.
Oh my gosh. The mascara part won't happen
Again.
again. Yeah.
Well, there's a few times you've used it, isn't there?
Okay, yes.
Welcome to another episode of Use Your Words Podcast, where I am joined once again by Aaron Johnson, where Aaron is, and I'll admit this, I think Aaron was a little blindsided by the fact that all of a sudden he heard intro music. I was like, oh, wait, what's going on?
Yeah,
What's this conversation going on about? And to be fair, it's not like it was completely out of the blue for Aaron, because it was something that he kind of brought up. And this conversation is moving on to that next phase of your life. And for Aaron, this is a different phase of life than like for me moving forward too. Aaron's moving to that next phase of life of mid to late 20s to the now. He's looking forward to his 30s and what that's going to bring with it and what that's going to bring for him.
Dirty 30s.
The new independence, the new need to be self-reliant, the new need to be off of his parents' insurance and on his own insurance, the new need for him.
That's the worst part right now.
The need and the difference as you're seeing friendships and how that may potentially change and go down and increase or decrease or stuff like that. That change in maybe even your romantic life, as you may or may not, find someone to settle down with as you're going forward. Living on your own, even out from underneath that shadow of your parents. You're definitely in that generation where that does happen quite a bit still. Up until, even until the 30s now.
Wait, living with mom and pop?
Yeah. What's those next steps? What are you thinking about your living situation, about moving on your own, and how responsible a person you could be doing that, either with a pet or without a pet, or just on your own, or with a partner, or with your 5 million guitars?
Yay. At least they can't talk back to me.
Not yet. Give me a moment. And I'll install something, and then so that way they can do that for you.
If I try and play it, it just yells at me.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Aaron.
Uh-oh.
Because you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're 26, correct?
I almost forgot my age about a week or two ago, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm 26.
So you're 26 years old.
Right, yeah.
Yep. Okay. You're in Southeast Wisconsin. You're between Chicago and Milwaukee. You're very eligible single bachelor out here, down here in Southeast Wisconsin. Mr.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you brought up is this moving on to your next phase of your life. What brought that thought up for you? What was the jumping off point where this phrase even jumped into your head about moving on to that next phase?
Yeah? You want to know?
Yeah. What brought that up?
I don't know. I think, there's been, oh my gosh. I don't know how many weddings have happened within this past year of friends. I got to be in 2 of them. Would have been 3. Oh. Yeah, I guess 3. But there's, I don't know. I guess it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, at some point they're gonna end up going off doing their own thing, and then I don't know. I just that's the whole thing. I don't expect to necessarily I don't know, necessarily be as much of a part of their life, obviously, as I am now, kind of thing. There's always that talk of like, oh, he's like, well, we can always hang out. Like, we'll always be available. Da, da, da. I was like, no, you won't. At some point, you won't be anymore as available as you are now.
And why do you think that is?
Life changes.
Okay.
People got to do what's, best. And, as much as like, I don't know. I think of like, I guess my friends Sam and Nico, like, because they've had talk of like traveling for work and stuff like that. So if they're off gone traveling at some point, some years down the road, it's like at some point, just that, availability of being able to get together it's going to go. I mean, that's kind of what happens once you get a job, and depending on where your job takes you, it's like you got to go where you can keep her moving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even with like my sister and her husband, I mean, they ended up moving to Kansas because of a job position for my brother-in-law. And then, it was Illinois and then Kansas. And I think he ended up stopping that job. Now he works for his dad. So, I mean, they can be back home now. Well, not back home, but back nearby, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you never know where life takes you, and most often it's got its way of separating things.
Yeah.
So there's that, and so it's just like I won't always have all these people that I know right now to be in touch with. It's like at some point it's like, oh, maybe I might end up having to move along somewhere. I don't know.
So these these weddings are supposed to be these wonderful, happy occasions.
No, they freaking suck.
Got you thinking very introspectively about different things.
Yeah, I hate weddings. It's funny. It's like if ever I had like a one of my first things that comes to my mind, if a friend of mine who is single now starts dating someone, I was like, oh. Another friend gone. All right. That's just I don't know. I just always negative, whatever.
And that's not an uncommon thought especially when you're in your 20s, when you're seeing all these people kind of start to couple up and get married and go off and start forming a family. And then, and I hate to throw some more hot water in this boiling pot that you're already in here. But when your friends start having kids, then that's a whole other game changer for things, because all of a sudden the life changes even more, because now the schedule is not so much around, hey, let's go out and have fun and hang out and do this and do that. It's now, I need to be home to read little Susie her bedtime story. I need to go home and change the diapers. I need to go home and do this. The priorities
change.
Yes, the priorities change of the other people involved.
And Josh thinks he's going to be able to dump his kids off on me. Ha! No.
Let me ask you this, and I want you to answer this honestly, because I'll admit, when I was in my 20s, like 25, 26, right around the same age you were at this time, okay? And this sort of stuff was going on with me and everything. I kind of took it as like, oh, this is my fault. I'm losing friends. This is on me thing. Do you ever feel that way yourself? Do you ever feel like you're the reason that the friends are?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't say so. It's just they get to do what they got to do. I don't know. No, yeah, I guess no.
Because some people do think that.
Right. That makes sense.
That when you for whatever reason, hey, I want to hang out too much, and they're like, oh no, I can't.
I gotta find somebody else now.
I can't do that anymore, sort of stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, because you're gonna lose some friends, unfortunately, because like you kind of pointed out, priorities are gonna change as you're going forward.
Yep.
Schedules are gonna change. You know, maybe you take on a job working, third shift, and all your friends are working first shift, or vice versa.
I ain't ever seeing them again.
That happens. People are going to change regardless. If you're not changing, you're being stagnant. If you're stagnant, that means you're
going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Where that means you're being stagnant at a job and not learning, stagnant at a job in a position not advancing and doing things you love, stagnant in your financial and your personal relationships, stagnant in your relationship with God, stagnant in your ability to play music, stagnant in any of that, your mental capabilities and reading and learning and growing.
Gosh.
What?
I'm getting attacked.
No, you're not being attacked. That's the thing.
I'm joking.
That's a very common thing. It's being stagnant. It happens.
Right.
And some people are fine with that. And, and I don't know
Some
if you've ever
people are go-getters.
if you've ever come to like a stagnant pool of water. Over time, it just reeks because nothing good is happening. It's not being refreshed. It's just all the gunk is just continuously growing, and then all of a sudden you have a pool just of algae, and you're like, well, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, it is. And from things that I've learned, like, when I was in college, it was like, oh, being social was kind of the big thing. You were always together as a group. You always, even going to dinner was like a group affair. Like you had 20, 30 people. It's like, okay, we have to stop at this dorm to grab these people, this dorm to grab these people, this dorm to grab these people, text these people. Okay, we're all going to meet. We're all going to go in, get food together and have fun and talk and whatever. And as you get older, at least for me, being social for some people isn't as important as it is when you're younger. You don't have to go out and be like, oh, I'm going to go have a burger, so therefore I must have 30 people. It's like, I'm going to go have a burger just to have burger. And actually, I want you to be away while I go get this burger and go away.
I want some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just going to be that old man that just doesn't want anybody around, That dude that just like sits on his porch, and if anybody tries to say hi, just like, get away, get. Yeah.
Oh, that was enlightening and sad all at the same time.
Yeah.
You're going to be the grumpy old man on the porch that everyone hates.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. That probably wouldn't work out for a lot of reasons.
Why is that?
Huh? Why? Well, I'm just too nice, At some point, but though maybe at some point, maybe just some like really harsh, angry, pissed off, annoyed side of me will just take over, and then I'll just be like, ah. But no, I guess no. The real actual reason I say that can't actually happen. It's because then, as far as like the whole like Christ relationship thing, I was like, that probably isn't really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't. Because I would say that's not too loving to people, which is kind of what we're supposed to do. So yeah, that's why that can't actually happen. It just crosses through my mind from time to time. I'm just gonna be that old dude that's just like chilling at home, just like, leave me alone. I want to be alone. So I guess I'd be lying if I never thought about it before. But
all right, okay. And I'm gonna ask this, and because I know you didn't go to college, so obviously I can't ask that question.
I never had the college life experience,
and that's fine. In high school, if you had to talk to high school version of you,
oh gosh,
okay, how many? And I'm going to put this in quotes because in high school, friendship means a whole lot different thing than when you're older. How many friends
did I have? I didn't have many friends.
Really?
No.
Like,
I guess what's many though?
Well,
because I mean, I get along.
Okay, give a quantity. Like, well, how many people in high school? How many would you have considered friends? Like, I don't need like 14.1. Give me a rough estimate. Like,
oh no, yeah. Oh gosh, how many would I actually say were like friends? Because I guess I would consider a friend someone that I would talk to outside of just either a class or somebody. A friend would be someone that I would, I guess, want to interact with outside of just a school area. Gosh, I mean, I could try and start listing all of them, but I'd for sure say 20.
Okay.
But then I guess because there's like a lot of people that obviously you get along with and have fun with and enjoy, like you'll be with them throughout either like especially the classes and stuff. You can have your class friends or whatever.
Right.
But I guess like as far as like doing a ton outside of school with at times, not many. There's probably 10 or so that if there was like some kind of hangout outside of school that I'd go out and be like, oh yeah, cool, hang out. So, yeah, 10 to 20 for sure.
Okay, so let's go on the higher end 20. Right.
Yeah.
What would you say now?
From high school?
No, like if I was to go Aaron Johnson right
How many
now,
friends do I
count off how many friends you have now.
Oh, geez. Still a lot.
Really? Yeah. That's actually quite atypical.
Atypical?
If it's a lot. Like, quantify a lot.
Yeah. I mean, oh, gosh. I guess this is where I have to define friends versus close friends. Because if I just consider close friends, it's still a few. But not a...
Quantify.
So close friends would be say 9 to 12.
Okay.
Then just friends. I guess it's I would probably stick around more so I guess in 15 to 20.
Okay.
I suppose. So it doesn't it hasn't changed much.
So it hasn't changed much, but even then on the close friend side.
But I was saying that this like the close friends are the main ones obviously that I'm spending time with.
Right.
That actually like
yeah, and those
would
other
wanna
friends,
hang
are
out
they
with.
more acquaintances where it's like, oh yeah, you know them, you might text them once in a while, or are they actually friends that you actually hang out with?
Huh. I mean, there'll be ones I hang out with. It's just not. I don't know. I guess that's something with me. It's like it's almost like it'll like stuff will happen in phases.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, you'll hit up a friend at this point, and then once you hit them up, it's just like oh yeah, there's this, oh there's this and that, and you'll hang out for a while, and then it just kind of slows down, and then there's nothing for a bit, and then you're just like hey
Yeah,
and then
so
it's like,
so an acquaintance that you hang out with every once in a while that
Yeah.
Not someone that's consistent that you like go kayaking with on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's a close friend.
Like Joshy boy.
Yes, that close friend.
Yeah. So even that, your numbers have started to dwindle, and you're only
They're starting to
25.
dwindle.
You're not that far out from high school. Sorry to break that news to you.
Yeah, it's only what? Well, it's been 6 years.
That's not that far
That's pretty freaking far.
to be honest.
I'm pretty freaking
And
old.
as you keep going up in that age,
Yeah.
things are gonna start.
So your friends are basically just gonna become your close friends,
Yeah,
or like close friends are gonna be just your only friends.
but even then, it's not like anything that you see on TV, where like the TV show Friends or How I Met Your Mother or Big Bang Theory, where it's all these people like always together. It's
no,
schedules don't line up like that.
no. I hate all this fairy tale world stuff. No, none of it ever really happens unless you're stupid rich and you can just afford to do that.
And some of the other stuff that you also see is as people, not people, but as you start getting older as well, you start finding those people that maybe they call it toxic friendships, but people that just aren't good to be around. People that, it's like, you know what? You just complain all the time. I'm sorry. I'm done with you.
Yeah. I'm moving on. Goodbye. See you never.
And this is a very common thing. You look in Reddit under Ask Men, and there's threads like, how do you keep friends? How do you make friends and these are people that are like 29. You know, they're not compared to they're relatively not that old. And they're like, how do you make friends? How do you keep friends? And they're like, I keep losing them as I get older and I get older. And, you know,
it's just how life goes, man. Get over it.
It's like, you know, those friends I would spend all the time with are now having kids. And, you know, it's not like they're not friendly anymore. It's they're
just busy.
They're busy. They can't come over and hang out in the guy's man cave. And he's like,
yeah, right.
He's like, what do I do? And it's that growing up and realizing that next phase of your life is not going to be as social as you would like sometimes.
All right.
That next phase of your life isn't going to be a TikTok dance party that everyone's invited to.
See, but you know, that's why bars are a thing, you know.
And there are some bars you go into and you feel sad for the people that you see in there.
This is very true. But I mean, you can always go to bars, just get sloshed, and then just everybody's your friend at that point.
Yeah, but
until you're making an enemy, and then you're like your worst enemy.
But is that the best thing to be doing? Getting drunk,
dude. If it means having a friend, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Because you're temporarily pushing off those problems in that emotional or psychological or issues. You know, and an issue might be I'm feeling lonely, you know, or I don't have friends or whatever. You're pushing that off temporarily to destroy your liver for a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I like a good alcoholic drink, and you know, and I like a couple good drinks, you know.
Yes.
So I'm not sitting over here going, "Thou shalt not drink ever." Da da da. Or thou shouldn't have a bad day and go have a beer, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's when you're using it to push it off.
If you have a beer because you have a bad day, you have a problem.
No, I'm not saying that. You know, it might be nice, you know, like just like if you're having, you know, a bad week, a friend might take you out, you know, just to hang out or whatever. That's great. That's wonderful. And if you have no friends and you have a beer, okay. But if you're using that as your only method for compensating for that, then and dealing with that, then that's when it becomes a problem.
Worse.
Yeah, and you're going to rely on the alcohol more and more.
So what's that? Oh, there's a song. It was like more like a classic rock song where it just talks about I like drinking alone kind of thing. I'm like, yeah. But
like I said, there are, you know, there's a time and a place for all that, and there's a time and a place when you go into like a bar and you just kind of look around and you're like, this is a sad bar. You know, it's sad when you go to a concert and, you know, just go there and just sit there with your hands in your pockets and
you know what? Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, I suppose.
You know, and maybe you're like, oh, I'm just trying to get out and get to know the place, you know, because maybe you're new in town, whatever. Right. You know, and you're trying to meet people.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sometimes it's just really unexpected. People show up.
And sometimes people will take your phone out of your hand and type in their phone number and send a message to themselves from you. And, and then Aaron has no idea if he's going to message her back or not.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm making Aaron uncomfortable here, and that's great.
It doesn't take much.
That's great for me. But you have this, and I'm telling you this, Aaron, as someone who has moved to that next phase of his life.
So yeah, you've been on the road longer than I have.
Yeah, I've lost a good chunk of friends. I've lost people that I've stayed in contact with. And it's interesting as you go through the years, seeing that number dwindle and dwindle and dwindle to smaller and smaller. But here's how I think it's gotten better in that regard. When you're younger, it seems to be quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And when
flip-flops.
It flip-flops when you get older, where you want quality over quantity.
Yeah, as you get older.
Yeah. You know, I will take, you know, 3 real good friends over 30 mediocre acquaintances.
Yeah. You want that person that, you know, what that's got your back kind of thing.
You want someone that you can rely on. You want someone that you don't have to worry about are they gonna, shoot you in your back while you're sleeping in the middle of the night through a sniper rifle from across the street?
Yeah.
If you have someone like that, you might want to get some help.
Reconsider.
Yeah. And you want those people that are going to be there for you, even if you maybe don't see them for a while, and hey, I have something come up. I know I can reach out to so and so to talk to that person. Then you're not like, oh, I have to worry about, did I tell them hi today? Because if I didn't tell them hi, then they're not going to like me.
Upset.
And then,
they're going to wonder why I'm not their friend anymore.
And other things that I know then that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about the schedule thing. Because, we're not going to see each other on a very frequent basis necessarily. But we're still going to be in touch. We're still going to be able to communicate. We're still going to have each other's backs. And it's that flip in the mindset when you start appreciating how good the friendship is over how much time you spend with that friend. Don't get me wrong. There are still times when it is great to just hang out and do things with people.
Yeah.
Like, example, going to the State Fair concert.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just spending time and not having, just relaxing, doing whatever. That's great. But at the same time, I'm not worried like, oh, okay, am I spending too much time? Am I not spending enough time? It was just able to relax.
I always wonder, like, if you have those kind of friendships where it's like you're constantly worrying if you're spending enough time with somebody. Is that good?
It's not healthy. It's not healthy for anyone on either side. Right. It's not healthy for you because you're worrying about, am I spending enough time with them? And if I, don't spend enough time, will they get mad? And if I don't spend enough time, will they stop caring about me? That's not healthy for you. And it's not healthy if they're doing that either. If they're saying, well, you haven't talked to me in 3 hours, so therefore we're no longer friends.
We got some clinging issues at that point.
Yeah. and that dependency on each other, from either side, is not healthy. And that's something that, again, some people deal with, some people don't. That's not necessarily you're in your 20s, you're going to be dependent on other people sort of deal. Yeah, it's just as you grow up and figure out, am I going to be one of those people? It's like, okay, yeah, cool, pull back, yeah. But that's that next phase, for a lot of people in their 20s, and it will be interesting to see how this group of people in their 20s deals with this phase, as this movement, because social media. I know
a wrench into things.
Yeah, and I know people kind of like make fun of it that, like, especially like people in their 20s right now were essentially born with a phone in their hands. Yeah, it seems like that at times because you have all these people on TikTok going, doing their little dances and doing all that fun stuff. But what happens then when these people who build their entire lives on social interaction start moving to that next phase of their life, where that social interaction starts going down? Because they're not famous necessarily on, they're not,
YouTube
or YouTube. They haven't done the crazy thing to make themselves go viral yet, or anything like that. And the number of people that interact with them or go down, keeps going down. And then they're like, but nobody likes me, nobody watches me, nobody does. And then
there's something wrong with you. And
then they freak out, So it'll be interesting to see, because some of the stuff previous to now, that's been dealt with in the private sphere. If I had an issue with it, it was maybe me and you have a conversation about it, whatever. Yeah. Now they're having this conversation on TikTok in front of other people, going, "Please watch me."
Yeah, I'm desperate and I need attention.
So it'll be interesting to watch that. It's also interesting because right now we're in the COVID timelines. All the fun stuff going on with that. And then what happens with living? It's not uncommon right now, especially for people in their 20s, to still be living with their parents, especially with the pandemic going on. That actually forced a lot of people back to living with their parents who maybe were independent beforehand.
Right.
And maybe they lost their job or their hours were reduced and they couldn't afford the rent, so they had to move in with their parents and all that. And they're watching as that goes on, because you were thinking about independent living. What's that next step look like for you there?
Yeah.
You know,
that's where I wonder. I mean, it can be very situational, I suppose. Because my biggest, I don't know, I'd like to go get my own place and just do that and get there. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to leave mom and pop alone. Getting older and getting fragile. I was like, what if they just need help around the house more? It'd just be better if I'm just here for it until I'm no longer needed.
And to be fair, this sounds weird. That's a very American thing here. There's a lot of other
taking care of the old people.
Moving off on your own. A lot of countries, you have multi-generations living still in the same house. So that's a very That's a very American thing of going off, being independent. Independence is a very American thing to begin with.
Yeah.
We like our independence. We like all that fun stuff, and that's fine. I'm all for that, 100%. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not against it. I guess the only reason I'd rather be more independent when I have my own place. I guess I don't know. I don't know. What is my reason for?
I was about to ask what brought up that whole concept of moving on to that next stage of, your independence moving. Like, don't get me wrong. A lot of people, when they're under 18, they dream of, when they turn 18, they're gonna move out and get their own place and live on their own sort of deal.
It's gonna be the best.
Yep. And you saw that all the time, like in the 80s and 90s, and then you hit the aughts, the zeros, and all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm going to live in my mommy's basement forever.
Mom, yay.
And that started becoming a thing. It first started with the that IT nerdy crowd. That was a stereotype. Oh, yeah. He's 40 and he works in IT. He's living in his mommy's basement.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of expanded to anyone like under, I would say even 35, maybe sometime under 40 even. Some of those people. But you still with your parents? Okay, cool. And now I'll say this past year and a half has been completely, all the rules have gone out the window with the pandemic, where people are returned to live with their parents or family members because they can't afford rent anymore, and maybe rent's going up. And we're probably going to see more of that going on as inflation starts rising. We're probably going to see rental prices just skyrocketing, and people are going to go, I can't afford this anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare.
But that's another problem for another day. That's the next phase of life.
Right. I guess one of my things, being a music guy, it's like I'd rather have my own place. So if I do feel like playing, especially I guess later at night or just whenever, I know I won't be potentially disturbing anybody upstairs. That's music considered. And also, I guess it's just I don't want to be a bother. I mean, because for when you have friends over, you don't want to have to be like, oh, it's like, well, I mean, is it going to be are mom and dad going to mind or whatever? Or is it going to be some kind of problem? Or do they not want people over because they're, I don't know, whatever reason they don't want people over? I don't know. So it's just like one less thing to have to be mindful of when you do stuff at home, I suppose.
Okay.
But all my friends seem to love my parents anyway, so it's
and you just need to make
pretty chill.
If you get your own place, you just need to make sure that you soundproof whatever room so you don't disturb the neighbors from your own basement.
Well, what? Yes. Which even here, like right now, it doesn't get that loud outside playing drums. But yeah, I guess I won't be out at like 2 a.m. just. Bop, 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 bop. But I mean, that has happened before, I suppose. You just get those nights where you just can't sleep, and it's like I gotta do something, and then I just get in this I want to play guitar mood. I play guitar, but it's generally acoustic, so it's quiet. Yeah.
So that's kind of what brought up on this thought of that next phase of your life for independence is.
That and all this wedding stuff. Yeah, the whole wedding season.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
Whoa.
So, because you mentioned that as well as, not only a place independent of here, for potentially, your music equipment and all that stuff. Living on your own, being your own responsible adult, doing your own laundry on your own and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I don't have a lot of clothes, so it's all right.
But also you mentioned like, hey, maybe get into a relationship and eventually have a marriage of your own sort of deal.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big fighting area for me.
It's a big fighting area.
Yeah.
Define that. Why is it a big fighting area?
It's a big fighting area. Well. I don't know. So, I mean, part of me is like, yes, it'd be sick to have a partner throughout whatever it is. I don't know. It'd be cool. Be pretty nice, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I'm just like, I'd rather not. And this is where it's all me. It's all whatever. Because I was what?
No, go on.
Oh, okay. Everybody has their own issues that they bring into a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got problems to some degree.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's just my thing. Because it's like, you know what? I don't want to be like a burden on people. So I was like, I'd rather just save that one person that maybe there could be something with. I was like, you know what? You just don't need the trouble. You'll find somebody better. Don't worry about it. Kind of thing. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, there's just too much on the plate with me. I don't want to be that much of a problem to somebody else. It's like, I'll just deal with my own problems. And then whatever happens, happens. Kind of thing.
Is that the only reason why, if I can ask?
What,
is that one of the big, you don't want to be a burden to someone? Is that one of the big things?
That's the biggest thing. And see, this is why it's so stupid. Because it's like, whenever I look at, like, for any, like, if I were to look at somebody and see, like, oh, yeah, you've got stuff going on in your life that's not too great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, and I know it's probably it's going to be the same, vice versa. But it's like, for me, it's like, oh, but he's like, but that's okay, because I can help you with that if I can, kind of thing, or whatever. So, but then it's like, I refuse. Like, no, don't help me. Just let me die. But I don't want to be a problem to you. But you can be a problem to me, because that's okay. Because I want to help anyways. It's just stupid. So there's that, and then depending on it's kind of funny. I was surprised that this actually kind of came up at work, and I guess said it. Whatever. I don't know why I was so scared to say it at work, but I was. But then once I said it, I was like, why was that so scary? I don't know. Anywho, so depending on the person.
Yeah.
And I guess this is where it's like, like someone's past, like, doesn't, make it or break it, I suppose, as a kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, what they've been through doesn't matter, but I guess in a sense it could.
Well, because what they've been through, that doesn't necessarily determine their future.
Well, yeah, exactly, and yeah. So it's like, I guess the only other, man, it was interesting. This is where it's gonna get all, whatever. It's gonna get all mushy and all that weird stuff.
Oh,
getting all that disgusting conversation kind of stuff, the dirty stuff. I'm sorry.
Okay. You said mushy to dirty, and I was like,
it's not okay. Not like the lovey-dovey feely stuff. No, like the gross, icky, not stuff you want to talk about, I guess.
Continue on.
So yeah, here we go. No, I remember having a conversation with a friend though, and it was funny because it was kind of. I mean, this is years ago, and it was someone I was interested in for sure. I was like, But I remember we were having a conversation about, because I mean, for being a Christian, I was like, sex before marriage, avoid at all costs, kind of thing, whatever.
Right. But
for them, like, sex before marriage is like, well, yeah, And I was like, no. Not that it wasn't being asked of me, but we were just having a conversation about it. Like, what do you believe on
You're
this
kind of have your
topic?
conversations on what you believe, what your limits were, what you're bringing into a relationship, what you wanted out of the relationship. In other words, you're having a define the relationship talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their reasoning was, I was like, well, because like for them, like that whole like sexual aspects of things apparently was very important. I mean, to some people, it's gonna be more important, I suppose. But they're like, yeah, because like, well, if I like got married to somebody, and then we got to that point, and I was like extremely disappointed with how it went, that would be a big impact on it. I was on like the whole like relationship as a whole kind of thing. I was like, oh, I was like, I guess I didn't think about that before. So I guess where it comes to like is when the past gets involved is where it's like if they've been with many other people, it's like it's always gonna be in the back of my mind. I'm like, am I just a disappointment compared to this person when it comes to this aspect of like the relationship? And again, it's like it depends on how prioritized that is in it. And as time goes on, there's a lot more to a relationship than obviously that aspect of it.
Right.
So that's where it's like it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but for whatever reason, it is a big deal, and it's just like, ugh. So I guess that's another aspect. It's like I just don't want to be a disappointment to whoever it is that I would end up if I ever did end up getting with. It's just like I don't want to put them through that. Get somebody better. It doesn't take much.
I'm going to say this to you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Don't let that be a deciding factor. And here's why I say this. We put a lot, especially in society right now. You look around, you're seeing sex everywhere. Let's just be honest. From your phones with pornography on it to on every website,
TV shows,
your TV shows, your advertisements, to stuff on TikTok. I don't know if you.
I don't watch TikTok, but
I don't
like the reels and stuff like that. I mean, all this stuff is like super sexualized.
And actually, I was really surprised recently. So this is recorded on August 21st. So in a month or two, there's a website. I don't know if you're probably not familiar with it, and I wouldn't blame you if you weren't, and that's fine. I only know about the site because of its reference in culture and everything else on Twitter and everything. OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened this past week with OnlyFans? It's causing all this big uproar.
Well, how much people make for like nudes? I don't know. I have no idea.
They're going to ban pornography on OnlyFans.
Oh, that was, I thought, the main attraction to it.
Exactly. So OnlyFans was actually created originally as an alternative to Patreon. It was originally created as an alternative for like video game streamers and all the content creators to do their stuff. But what a lot of people don't recognize, like for pornography and that, there's actually a lot of restrictions the payment processors put on websites that do that sort of stuff. And they actually take a larger chunk of, they impose larger fees on each purchase than like a normal website. So OnlyFans, their payment processors are saying, well, because you're serving up pornography, we're going to impose these rules and we're going to take like 30% of each transaction, and that's going to be like our fee because and so OnlyFans like, nope, we're cutting it out. And so they announced that in the next month or two, I think it's like October 1st, whatever, that pornography will no longer be allowed. Now, that being said, they said, well, if you want to do nudes, if they're artful and tasteful and they follow these guidelines, you can still do them, but you can't do like pornographic videos anymore. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways, getting back to it, what my comment, sex is out there. It's everywhere. Pornography is out there. It's everywhere. There's a lot of people that, and you read about this on Reddit or various forums or anything like that, where people are like, well, what if I don't live up to expectations that porn put on them? Because they have all these expectations on what sex should be like.
And it's not.
And it's not necessarily like that. Nope. Now, that being said, putting those same expectations on yourself of like, well, they've been with blah, 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 and I haven't,
Well, it's not that.
I know, but
Yeah.
I know, but I mean, and then you're going, well, now I'm going to be disappointing. I know
Right.
it's not equivalent, but it's putting some of that same pressure on yourself of like, you're not performing up to the expectations that you have in your own head of what you should be living up to. Whether that be from pornographic material that you have consumed, whether that be from the expectation that because they have been with more people than you have or whatnot,
What if there's
that,
somebody that they enjoyed more?
stuff like that.
No.
Okay. So in a way, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even begin down a path and give yourself a chance.
Pretty much. I'm good at that.
And I'm telling you, you are good at that, and you need to stop.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
I'm not telling you this as a person who is married because I'm not. What?
Well, I mean, that goes outside of the whole, even marriage stuff. That's just life stuff in general, too.
Yeah. And what? I had, how many years has it been now? 3, 4, 4 years now since my last girlfriend?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Has not.
Yes.
No.
Yes. 17.
No.
2017.
No. I refuse to believe that.
So it's been, that long since that happened.
No.
And our breakup actually was over my dog at the time.
That was the last one?
Yeah. It's been a while for
No
me.
freaking
I'll
way.
admit it. But our breakup wasn't over anything else other than, disagreement on dogs. Our life goals weren't fully in sync in that regard. Like that was such a big issue for us that it actually
It's like, nope,
Yep.
not happening.
it caused the issue. Now, a lot of our other life goals were in check, and it just happened to be that the dog one has just broke it. So,
Crazy.
now when I even talk with anyone, it's like, I go, look at my dog. I just so you know, dog lover here.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that comes up. First thing beyond that even sets the tone before that is like, so do you follow Christ? A lot of people will bring that up and go, oh, okay, they're not Christian. Oh, I can change them.
Yeah.
You can't change them.
Missionary dating is not good or not recommended.
No, it's not. And this comes back to that same principle. And I think we've talked about this before, me and you personally. I don't know if we've ever recorded, but it's a lot easier to pull someone down than to bring someone up.
Yes.
It's a lot easier for me to go, hey, Aaron, let's go drink and whatever, instead of, hey, let's do the right thing
let's
here.
Not do this tonight. Well, not tonight, just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot easier to loosen your standards than it is to tighten them.
Yeah. Because when you lose them, it's like, oh, I can do what everyone else is doing around me. It doesn't matter.
And it's okay. It's
easy,
not that bad.
It's easy for me to go ahead and just swear up a storm,
It can be a good thing.
especially if they're swearing up a storm in work meetings, and you're like, oh, blah 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 blah, and you're just in there going,
I can
okay.
let it out then.
It's especially weird for me when it's my own boss doing it, and I'm just like, do 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 do.
This is bad, kid. I feel weird about this.
Yeah. So let me ask that of you, Aaron, and you can choose to answer or not this question. Is that a requirement for you?
This should be yes.
Interesting way you answered it.
It should be yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be. Should just be yes. Yeah.
It should be yes.
I guess it's like if I were to actually get to the point of considering making a serious relationship, then yes, it is. But it's like, I guess I wonder even it's like if you're even working your way potentially to getting to a relationship, it probably should just be anyways. And yeah, too. Instead of being like, hey, this is who I am. I'll be great.
Can I give
Friends
you
with you, but
can I give you a piece
it
of
could all
advice as
be
you're
gross.
moving on through your life
that's dangerous
right now?
That's probably very dangerous.
Well, no, I'm not even going to start with the it's dangerous part.
Oh, great. So it is. But what's the other part?
Okay, so remember when we were talking about originally how like when you get as you get older, your number of friends and acquaintances starts going down, and that part of that is because of your schedule. It changes. You get busier. They get busier. Blah 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 blah. Right? Now,
Yes.
I'm not saying a person you consider a friend, you have to go, Are you Christian? Yes, no. Okay. No, we cannot talk
Sorry,
anymore.
I can't be your friend anymore.
In fact, I will encourage you, if you have non-Christians, be their friends.
Oh, yeah,
be friends
absolutely.
with them. Okay. But that being said, because you know that as you're getting older, your priorities are changing, your schedule's changing, things are getting a little more complicated in life, both for you and for them. Why do you even spend the time, waste the time, potentially pursuing a relationship that you know from the get-go is going to go zero?
It's gonna go down the drain.
Why would you spend?
Because I'm different, dang it. I'm just kidding.
You know what? I can point to a bunch of people out there who all have said, I'm different and I'm going to convert this person over.
I'm gonna make.
You know what?
I
will point you to my dad and my mom.
Yeah, I know about that one.
Okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It ends up with balls being thrown.
I guess like even like.
And again, I'm
really
distinguishing
judgy of
between dating and friendship.
Oh yeah.
If you're pursuing that friendship with a non-Christian, whatever.
Yeah, that's
go
cool.
for
That's
it.
Whatever.
But if
you want to look at,
if you're going,
dating,
you're going, she looks pretty. Oh, you're not Christian. Oh, let's date for 3 months anyways until we have the conversation. Until we have the conversations about religion and then break up. You know, after you've already started making some emotional attachments to the person.
But I have emotional attachments to my friends.
There's a different type of emotional
It is
attachment you have between a friend and a potentially romantic relationship.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I haven't gotten theirs.
So,
Not
anyways,
recently.
you were about to say something. You're like,
past, though.
this might sound judgy.
Oh, well, I guess like thinking of, I don't know, just like older couples that I know where it's like, I don't know, where one seems to be more the whole Christian-y, churchy side of things, and one's just like, meh. It's just like, I don't know, I guess it's like you either start to see the one that was like the Christian one of the relationships, like slowly can stop showing up. And then just over time, it's just like, oh, wait, what happened to that person? And they're just gone.
Again, it's easier to pull down than to pull up.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's like danger. Yeah.
All right.
I guess that's all I can think of, because then it's like also it's like when you see them behind the whole like closed door thing or whatever as couples, it's just like for some of them you can see obviously more of a, I guess, the real side of them, not the church side of them, but the real side.
So that happens,
Which is unfortunate.
and that's why for me that's one of the first things that happens regardless. And I'll admit, as I've gotten older, and going back to something you were saying, about do you want to live your life single or not or whatnot,
Yeah.
I will admit in my early 30s, because now I'm in my late 30s, which is weird to say. In my early 30s, I was very much I do not want to be alone forever type deal,
Right.
In my mid 30s, I started switching to the, I might be. In reason like the last year and a half, it's like, I am now comfortable with that. Would it be nice? Sure. But does it have to happen?
Nah.
No. Now, that being said, I'm not isolating myself away to where I have no friends or nothing like that. I'm in that next phase of my life. And I think I told you about this. I was up at camp this past, March or something like that, and we had the speaker there for the camp, and the speaker, he sits down, he's like, so are you married, are you single, whatever? I'm like, single, whatever. And, I'm just like answering the question. I'm like, yeah, I'm single. He's like, are you happy with this? Is this your calling in life to be single for the rest of your life? I'm like, I don't know if it is. I'm happy with it. I'm fine with it. If something were to happen, like, tomorrow I meet someone and it's like, okay, that's, that's the person. Would I be fine? Yes, I would be fine. I wouldn't be like, oh, nope, I met you. I'm now single for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. But it was a weird conversation. If you ever get asked that by a speaker at a
Just avoid it.
it's just like, how do you answer this properly? Don't know.
What is it? Because I know I've had like a conversation with an old teacher, and like one of his things was I mean, yeah, we're supposed to, like get married and have kids and stuff like that. We're supposed to repopulate the earth. And I was just like, granted, like as Christians, yeah, it'd be good for us to reproduce and hopefully have kids that love God and then continue to, spread that out and whatnot. But then I was just, what is it? Is it the Corinthians? Because I thought Paul talks about,
Paul talks about the gift of
singleness and stuff like that.
And that's exactly what the speaker brought up too.
Oh,
FYI.
Nice.
Yeah, and that is true. In general, we were given as the command, be fruitful, multiply back in Genesis. The marriage was created for a man and a woman to come together and know one another, aka be physically one.
Get in bed. Yeah.
And potentially have offspring from it. Now, not all couples can conceive and have children. We know that. That's why there's things like adoption, fostering, and that. And for the people that are single, there's other ways that you can do this. I look at it this way for me. I'm not married, single, no kids, nothing like that. And I look at it as my working with the youth group kids, my working with the various ministries there. They are not biologically my kids. They are not legally my kids, but I'm investing in them. I'm investing in the next generation. I look at you and Josh. I invested in you too, as you two went through youth group.
Yeah.
You're not my kids, obviously, because I would have had to be like 12 at the time. But you're that next generation that I invested in.
Yeah.
And I have next generations I'm working with and wanting to see grow and succeed and be fruitful. And when they do well, then I'm happy for them.
Right.
They don't have to physically be my kids.
No. I mean, you can't. I mean, if you want, you can always go to a sperm donor.
No.
And then you could have a biological kid out there somewhere.
Yeah, I could, but they wouldn't be involved with me in any way.
Yeah. I say, is that would that be an okay thing to do?
What's that? Donate sperm and have a kid out of wedlock?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good thing.
Well, maybe you should think about that and record a small video about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking, what about as far as adopting as a single person? That's a thing, right?
Yeah, you can adopt as a single person. You can foster as a single person.
That's wow.
Now, obviously, it's harder to do that in a single person household because, you have to have enough income to be able to supply both a housing. If you're fostering, you're getting some money from the government, but if you're adopting, then all the expenses are on you. Yeah, so you got to have enough money for housing. You got to have enough money for taking care of them. It's harder as a single person. It's easier as a couple.
Right. And also, much more than financial ways too.
Yeah. Time commitment. Children learn
what you teach.
Children learn different things from men and from women. Yep. Unfortunately, that is a very unpopular opinion in America right now. Popular opinion in America is that doesn't matter who you are or if it's a single parent household, the child will be just fine. And while I agree that it is better for a child to be with a single parent relative to, out on the street or, in a foster system with, going from foster system, I agree it's better for them to be with a single parent. There are things uniquely that men can teach. There are things uniquely that women can teach. And that's a very unpopular thing to say in America right now because a lot of people are like, no, that we can all teach the same thing. Now, I'm not saying you can't learn how to be a mechanic from a woman because there are female mechanics out there. It's not stuff like that. It's how do you respond? We respond differently our genders respond differently to various scenarios on how we respond, where it's more aggressive or whether it's more caring and nurturing or various things. And that makes a well-rounded individual on how we learn those things and how we process those things.
Right.
So as you're moving on to your next stage of life here, Mr. Johnson, are you looking at like adopting, fostering?
I'll probably only be able to barely keep myself afloat for where things are at right now. Shoot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't
guess
know.
It depends on how you look at it. If I just go by off of what I make, I'm hurting. But
Fair.
thankfully, because of my accident, I have stuff to fall back on if needed.
Yeah,
but I don't want to just waste that, though.
Yeah, you're only going to be able to rely on that for so long.
And then it's like, oh, well, now I need to make money to just make it through life. And then, oh, no. And then what happens when my hands don't work anymore? And then oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one part of life I'm not looking forward to, as if these things just start to stop.
Yeah.
Makes me nervous. A little bit, but not too much.
So just for your information, I'm on Reddit right now under the Reddit Ask Men. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth item on Ask Men right now.
Uh-oh.
Why are so many men friendless today?
Friendless?
Like 0, 1 friends. You know, and it's just a big old thread of people talking about various things about
jerks.
like why, you know, people don't have friends. Men don't have friends. And, you know, obviously there's probably like an Ask Woman thread about this as well. But that happens as you get that older. That happens as you get older. You start thinking, how am I going to live on my own? What am I going to do? What's my future spouse going to be like? What would I like to do with them? You know, what are my life goals that I'd like to share with them? What are these things that keep coming up? You know, some people, they get married at 18, 19, 20, and that's great because they've already found their life partner they're going to go through and they're figuring out life as they're going on.
That's my sister.
But a lot of people are now in their 20s, 30s. I was even reading some articles recently, like some people were like, hey, I didn't get married till I was 55, you know, and he's like, and I'm having the time of my life.
That's cool.
You know, so it's become this kind of thing going forward. You have people, various places going, hey, you know what? You know how you can help the earth? Don't have kids. That's a new thing going around, by the way.
Wow. You're just wasting our resources.
Essentially, yes. But these new phases of your life, and when I say phases, I mean age. I'm not saying just necessarily wedding phase, you know, where you're getting married. I'm not saying the phase of having kids, because those are separate phases too. But the phases of getting older, that phase of the mid to late 20s, the phase of the early to mid 30s, and then, you know, like every 5 years or so is when you start looking at and reevaluating where you are, what you want out of life, and what you want next in life. And that's where you start coming up with this look at like, wow, why, you know, friends, why are they dropping off like flies? Oh, it's because we're starting to move in different directions with what we want in life. Oh, you know, I want a spouse to, you know, someone to live my life with, but I want them to share my values. Oh, I'd like a place of my own, but at the same time, I want to be able to somehow be close by to help my parents or my spouse's parents. Or
I don't want to spend all that money to get a house.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so you start looking at all these things. You start reevaluating what your life you want it to look like. And I don't know about you, but like me, that's like every 5 years I do that. It seems like. And it's not like I plan it like in my journal. Today, I will replan my life for the next 5 years. It just happens to be like, I'm 35. What is my next 5 years going to look like? What do I want to accomplish in those next 5 years? What do I want to do differently? What do I want to be? How do I want to be different than it is now?
Yeah.
And you start looking at that and you start going, And here's the one piece of advice I will give you over and over again. Never be afraid to reevaluate those things. Never be afraid to reevaluate what your friendships look like, what they should look like, how they look like. Do you all still follow those same paths? Do you have the same values? Do you find benefit out of those friendships? And some of them might be just friendships that you know, enjoy and hang out for fun. Some of them should be meaningful, though. Some of them should be so impactful that they seem to overshadow the others, but they just overshadow in a different way than the other. You know, you're going to have those fun ones, those deep, insightful ones. You're going to have the ones that keep you consistent, either with your faith or whatever. You're going to have those various levels of friendships. Evaluate what your living situation is going to look like. Are you going to continue to live with family members, and how does that look? Do you take on a certain part of the responsibility around the house, or do you just contribute financially so that they can afford to be able to contribute and do those things without your assistance? You know, how does that time sink look for you? What are you dedicating your time to? Is it video games? Is it playing music? Is it spending time with friends? Or is it doing nothing? Because as you're growing through these phases of your life, I'm sure you've seen it as well, even you, Mr. Johnson, at 26, where video games start becoming less of a priority.
Oh, yeah. They get boring all too quickly.
Yeah. These video games all of a sudden become less of a priority, and other things take more priority. Music, trips, travel, friends, experiences.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And so you start looking at these things and you start prioritizing differently. You know, how again, if time is one of those things you prioritize, how does that fit in with your living situation? You know, are you living close enough, like I said, to help out with family members? Or do you just like, oh, I'm going to donate some financial money so they can handle themselves and I can have that time to do things? You know, one of the biggest things that I was taught is if you have the money to do it, okay, so that's the big if. If it comes between, do I spend a little extra cash to free up some time, or do I spend time doing something? Let's say it's a weekly chore. You know, again, if you have the money, do I spend some time for someone to come in and clean my apartment, or do I take the time to do it? If I have the cash flow and I can afford to spend a little extra cash for someone to come in and clean, that buys me extra time to do other things.
Heck yeah.
It seems like, oh, well, that's the lazy thing. You're taking the way out. It's
got that rich lifestyle. Jeez.
What are you prioritizing your time for?
Right. Because time you can't get back.
Now, if you do that, right, if you spend that time, that money to buy someone to come and clean your apartment for a little bit, but you spend it playing video games, you're probably spending your money poorly.
Yeah.
However, if you take that same money, you buy someone's time to go and clean your apartment, but you go out and have an experience with some friends maybe at a trip or something, that's probably spending that money wisely.
Right.
Or you take that time to go learn something, or you take that time to expand your horizons and have a new experience, then it's probably worth it. But if you take it and go, oh, I'm going to play a video game, boop, 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 boop.
I just don't want to do the work. I just want to.
Yeah. And then where do you prioritize your relationships? And I'm not talking friendships, I'm talking romantic relationships.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You know, and how important is that? And how much are you willing to compromise or not compromise on those things?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And it's easy
to be nervous about friends.
And it's easy to compromise on like a romantic relationship potentially, because you may be, and there are people like this, don't get me wrong. Some people are of the, I cannot be alone, so therefore I will take anyone.
Oh,
And that's when you start getting into problems.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So as you're moving on, Aaron, you're 26 now, so you're moving on to that later part of your 20s.
It's gross.
This seems weird for me to say, but when you hit 30, reevaluate these things. What are these things that are so important to your life regarding how you're living, how your romantic relationships are, and how your friendships are? Reevaluate them every couple of years, and you'll see that difference. You'll see that time change. And that way, if you see something you don't like, you can start changing it.
I'll have to actually try and do that.
And I say this as someone who, 25, 30, didn't do that. And starting around 30, started doing that. And started seeing that difference, that change. What are the priorities? What are you dedicating your time to? Because, we're talking about this in the context of time right now, but when you start taking a look at that in the context of the Christian relationship,
Oh,
where are you spending your time worshiping?
Right. Yeah. What are you putting all your time into?
Are you putting all your time into video games, into pointless relationships? And I say pointless as a joke, pointless as in like, oh, I'm going to date them for 3 months and break up with them because they're not a Christian. That's a pointless relationship.
I'm gonna use somebody.
What are you investing your time in? Because ultimately, from the Christian point of view, you look at it, the things that you spend your time and money and energy on are things that you worship.
Yeah, to some degree.
And if they're not worthy, and when I say worthy, that means they don't bring you closer to God, they don't keep you in contact with God, they don't keep you on the path to following God better, they are not worth it.
Right.
And they need to be excised from your life, from your routines, and from your time schedules. And that is a hard pill to swallow, and that is a hard change to make for most people.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
So take that time now that you're going through this stage transition to figure out what's my next step.